Segun Sopitan, Principal Partner, Woodbridge and Scott Consulting, joining us this morning. Let's start off with the good news. What are the potential economic benefits of the U.S. lifting restrictions on Nigerian vessels? Here we're talking 12 years finally lifted.
Well, yeah, good morning and thanks for having me. Well, it's excellent news, and every time that there is a restriction on any kind of trade or activity from let me call it a global power, targeted towards a middle or lower power, the lower power tends to lose. You lose out on economic benefits, you lose out on opportunities for your citizens, for businesses within your territory to take advantage of the size of the other economy. So it's a good thing that, these restrictions are being lifted. It can only result in some sort of advantage and benefit to Nigerian businesses, to Nigerian individuals and citizens, and to Nigeria as a country. So that's good news. Let's hope that we see more.
All right, not to play the devil's advocate here, but considering some of the issues that we're currently facing in Nigeria, and I'm talking about economic issues, even though it's being said that there are improvements to certain macroeconomic indices. But even with this good news, could our situation, our economic challenges affect this in the long run?
Could it affect the good news? Well, I think what we need is all hands on deck, from all angles. Nigeria is in very dire straits, has been for a long time. This administration is doing what it can, at least to them. Some people would say that they're not doing enough. But I think it's also important that as much help as can be received from as many quarters as possible will do us good in trying to get to where we should be as a country and as an economy. So I don't think that the challenges that we face could necessarily pose a threat to such cooperation with countries that matter. It should be on the contrary. However, one must also say that also comes with a caveat that we must play our part. We must do our part in ensuring that we police our activities properly. We ensure that we comply with international standards. We ensure that there's transparency and accountability in the way we do things as a country, so that we don't become victims of these types of backlash from the international community. So if we don't do that, then of course we will suffer those consequences. So hopefully we'll see more like this coming from other territories and jurisdictions towards Nigeria.
All right, I like the fact that you said all hands on deck. I do agree this is a great opportunity for Nigeria, and it's important that we take full advantage of it. Now, for those of our audiences that may just be hearing about this for the first time, what necessitated the 12-year condition of entry, and what were the implications?
Well, I think that we've had a situation in Nigeria where the security situation with Nigerian waters was a concern. Generally speaking, the regulatory environment with regards to how our vessels are managed and so on and so forth did not meet international standards in many regards, and that could obviously lead to countries wanting to shield themselves, so to speak, from any potential contagion effects. And I think maybe that's why we saw those types of restrictions. And so as we continue to improve on how we manage our own environment, how we manage the regulatory situation across the different sectors of our economy, then we should see some of these restrictions and harsh treatments from other countries removed.
All right, so it's one thing to have the restrictions lifted. What specific reforms must Nigeria sustain to ensure this becomes a long-term vote of confidence in maritime security rather than a temporary concession?
As much as possible, and this cuts across, all sectors of our economy, as much as possible, we want to see an intentional move by the country towards compliance with international standards. International standards with policing our waterways and marine economy, marine environment. International standards with policing the operations of vessel owners in the country that are either being managed by agencies like the Nigeria Shippers Council, agencies like NIMASA and the Nigerian Ports Authority, working in synchronization and harmony to ensure that such standards are sustained. This also cuts across, the aviation sector, cuts across other jurisdictions where international standards are required for interrelationship between territories. So we need to continue to maintain this tempo and continue to try to align ourselves with those standards so that we do not become a pariah state in the international community.
All right, since the 12-year restriction has been lifted, let's take a track back. Now, since the imposition of this restriction, would you say the country has been able to maintain effective anti-terrorism measures within all its ports, especially the non-exempt ones?
Well, I mean, look, the thing is, as far as anti-terrorism concerns go, as far as overall security, architecture, and infrastructure go, we have a long way to go in this country. The activities of, for example, of pirates in the Gulf of Guinea, on our waterways, even inland waterways, are not. You can't actually argue that they are completely safe. We have a long way to go. So we need to continue to put in more effort. We want to see the government focus more resources, more attention on deploying appropriate, I would even say, cutting-edge technologies to address these issues. So say terrorists, how can you infiltrate our country, or how can you use our vessels to infiltrate other jurisdictions through our vessels, through our waterways? How can technology prevent that from happening? What kind of scanners can you put in place, to view and to see the contents, for example, of containers that are moving in or out of our jurisdiction? Those technologies are available. So how well have we been able to deploy that? How well are we arming security services that are vested with the responsibility of policing the marine sector? All of those things must come to bear before we begin to see these types of restrictions go away.
All right, so let's take it back to an earlier point that we brought up. Now, the U.S. mission has faced a lot of backlash over their listening to what Nigerians prefer in terms of food. It's been criticized as tone deaf. Now, how would you assess this, the backlash, the comments, and the listening exercise being conducted by the U.S. mission?
Well, I mean, it's ironic. You could almost find it a bit funny, this reaction from Nigerians. But again, there's nothing funny about it. Nigerians are reacting based on their current pain points, based on their current lived reality. It's a bit far removed from these types of issues that they would consider trivial and mundane compared to the reality that they are currently facing, which is hardship, right? So their reaction is understandable. However, it must also be said that whether we like it or not, the world continues to go on. The planet is going to continue to revolve on its own axis and continue to revolve around the sun. None of that is going to change regardless of whatever we're going through. Diplomatic missions will continue to engage with their host communities in the manner that is prescribed across board. So when a new head of mission, for example, enters the country, it has to be announced. The public must know, and there will be some sort of engagement measure. I am not sure that I understand what more or what less the U.S. mission could have done in trying to introduce this new personnel, to Nigeria. So it's tempting to think that we're overreacting because of what is happening in the country, but then one must not trivialize people's feelings. It's the way we're feeling. So would I consider it tone deaf? I don't think so. I think that the U.S. mission was just doing what they are supposed to do, and Nigerians are reacting the way that they feel they want to react to what happened. And we'll just look at it. It's for governments to take a cue from that reaction. I think the most important stakeholder in this exchange is the Nigerian government, is to take that reaction and take it as feedback and see what they can do to lift people out of whatever hardship is making them almost overreact to simple things like this.
Well, I'm pretty sure the overreaction is coming from the fact that, well, there's a lot of hunger going on in the land. A lot of people can barely afford to eat 3 square meals a day. I won't speak on behalf of the U.S. mission, but there is a possibility that it was a genuine attempt to listen to what Nigerians are going through. Well, that was Segun Sopitan, principal partner, Woodbridge and Scott Consulting, giving his comment on the 12-year security restriction that was flagged on Nigerian vessels that has finally been lifted by the United States.